What if I told you that Ferrari has completely stopped its 2025 season to secretly build a monster? A project that could make history or unleash the biggest technical disaster that Maranello has experienced since the post-Schumacher era? Is this leap into the void worth it? Who risks absolutely everything after almost 20 years without a world title? Frédéric Vasseur, the head of the Ferrari team, made an unprecedented decision in April 2025 to completely paralyze the development of the SF25 single-seater after only 6 Grand Prix contests. This was not a simple restructuring of priorities, but a 180-degree turn in Ferrari's philosophy. It was not about improving what existed, but about abandoning what had failed. They voluntarily gave up in the middle of an ongoing season, with Hamilton debuting without podiums and the Scuderia being overtaken even by Mercedes and Williams. Vasseur opted for the future without guarantees, in an F1 in which the present is everything. But you have to understand something. This was not a withdrawal out of desperation. It was a meticulous plan. Every minute saved in the development of the SF25 was invested in a new technical direction, completely designed from scratch for the revolutionary 2026 rules. The wind tunnel, CFD simulation, human resources, and even dynamic track testing were redirected with surgical precision towards the so-called Project 678. Vasseur not only stopped the 2025 car, he reorganized the entire operational infrastructure of the team with an obsessive vision to win in 2026. This is a world championship strategy, not survival. What makes this turn even more radical is the silence with which it has been executed. While other teams talk about evolution and transition, Ferrari decided to cut with the past, break with the present, and build something completely new. In a sport where continuity and incremental development are the norm, Vasseur is betting on total disruption. And that makes the SF26 much more than a car. It is a technical manifesto, a declaration of war on the status quo, and possibly Ferrari's last great card to once again dominate Formula One. One of the most unexpected, risky, and ingenious strategies that Ferrari has conceived in recent years is the implementation of 2 different specifications of the SF26 for the 2026 season. This is not a mere aerodynamic variation or a camouflaged experimental version. We are talking about 2 cars that represent completely different validation and performance philosophies. The Spec A and Spec B are not successive versions of the same car, but rather tools designed with totally opposite but complementary objectives. Why 2 cars? Because Ferrari is trying to solve the most complex dilemma that modern Formula One imposes. How do you validate a revolutionary concept without compromising the accumulation of critical reliability data? If you introduce all your new features at the same time and something fails, you lose valuable days of testing. If you go too conservative, you go into the first race not really knowing where your car's limit is. With this dual strategy, Ferrari seeks to navigate that impossible balance. The Spec A will give them confidence in the durability of the hardware. The Spec B will reveal the true potential of the design. This strategy, which may seem like a simple duplication of resources, is actually a reflection of the extent to which Ferrari has redefined its way of thinking. Maranello has traditionally been a cautious team, evolving from a familiar base. But in 2026 they are betting on a surgical synchronization between innovation and validation. By dividing development into 2 practical but converging phases, the team gives itself the opportunity to correct errors without sacrificing the entire preseason. Furthermore, this approach represents a competitive advantage in a year where the rules change drastically and empirical knowledge is worth more than any simulation. With only 6 real days of testing, Ferrari wants to take advantage of every minute. Speculation suggests that they could even swap components between Spec A and Spec B during testing, speeding up the technical iteration process. It is a simultaneous engineering approach at the highest level. 2 philosophies, 1 structure, and a single objective: to build not only the most reliable car, but also the fastest from day one. Ferrari is not only betting on innovation, he is betting on millimeter execution. And if this plan works, it will mark a before and after in how a preseason is conceived in the modern era of Formula One. In a category where every gram counts, where the slightest change in weight or balance can define the success or failure of a car, Ferrari has decided to do the unthinkable: manufacture the cylinder heads of its power unit in steel. Not in aluminum, as tradition and the common sense of every Formula One engineer dictate, but in a steel alloy developed in collaboration with the Austrian company AVL. At first glance, this decision seems like an act of technical madness. But if analyzed in detail, it could be the masterstroke that redefines thermal performance in the new hybrid era of the category. The logic is simple but risky. Steel allows operation at significantly higher temperatures and pressures within the combustion chamber. This opens the door to more efficient, more aggressive, and more powerful combustion. In theory, a motor that can withstand higher temperatures has fewer thermal losses, meaning it can convert more energy into useful work rather than wasted heat. In Formula One, this marginal increase in efficiency can be translated into tenths of a second per lap, which, accumulated throughout an entire race, means positions gained on the track. But it's not that simple. Steel is considerably denser than aluminum, and the fact of placing that excess weight right at the top of the engine, in the area of the cylinder heads, directly affects the car's center of gravity. This impacts the dynamic behavior of the car, making cornering, exit traction, and general stability difficult. It's the kind of compromise that historically no F1 team would be willing to accept. So why does Ferrari do it? Because the 2026 regulations have changed the rules of the game. The minimum weight of power units will increase from 120 kilograms to 150 kilograms. This means that engineers have a margin of 30 kilograms more that can be strategically distributed. If you know that you are already going to carry that extra weight per regulation, why not use it to gain something in return? And that is exactly what they have done. In parallel, Ferrari designed an alternative version of the engine with aluminum cylinder heads. It was his safety plan. But after months of tests, simulations, bench validations, and on-track development with AVL, they made the most forceful decision: discard the aluminum option. They have bet everything on steel. This is not a test. It is your final choice. The estimated impact of this solution is approximately 13 additional horsepower. In Formula One, where each horse can be equivalent to 0.02 of a second per lap, this could represent a gain of up to 0.25 seconds on certain circuits. But the most impressive thing is not the raw power figure, but the consistency with which that power can be sustained lap after lap, without suffering thermal degradation or a drop in performance due to overheating. The MGUH, that component that for years recovered thermal energy from the turbo and allowed electric power to be deployed in a sustained manner, disappears with the new regulations. Instead, the balance between internal combustion and electrical energy will depend entirely on the MGUK, the generator that recovers energy during braking. This transition forces teams to completely redesign their energy management logic. And it is here that Ferrari has found a crucial technical advantage: the optimization of the MGUK under variable load conditions. At Maranello, they have worked for years so that the power unit not only generates more energy, but does so in a constant and predictable way. Internal simulations and dynamometer tests have revealed that the SF20 SIXS kinetic energy recovery system has exceeded initial projections. This not only means more energy stored in the battery. It means that the driver will have more power available at key moments: starts, overtaking, defenses, and critical qualifying laps. Unlike its rivals, which have prioritized the raw power of the thermal engine, Ferrari has opted for a more linear and controlled delivery curve. The goal is not to reach peaks of 1,000 horsepower for a couple of seconds, but to sustain balanced hybrid power for an entire lap. This translates into less tire wear, better traction when exiting corners, and superior thermal management that could make a difference on urban circuits or those with extreme temperatures. But the most fascinating thing about Ferrari's new approach is its systemic integration. This is not a powerful MGUK connected to an efficient battery. It is a technical ecosystem in which each element from the gearbox to the braking maps is synchronized to maximize the use of the recovered energy. Even the battery architecture has been redesigned. More compact, with higher energy density, better cooled, and strategically positioned to optimize the car's center of gravity. This allows for more aggressive chassis packaging and greater aerodynamic freedom. Additionally, Ferrari has perfected the way that power is delivered to the rear axle. It is no longer just about having power, but about when and how it is deployed. The control unit has been reprogrammed with predictive algorithms that allow the car to anticipate consumption scenarios and adjust electrical deployment in real time. This gives the pilot a surgical precision tool to attack or defend without compromising energy balance. On test benches, Ferrari has managed to sustain a deployment close to 85% of the lap on medium-load circuits, a very high figure considering the new limitations. This efficiency, combined with the reliability of the new cooling system, could allow the SF26 to maintain its performance even under conditions of high thermal degradation, where other cars tend to lose electrical performance. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.